This is William K. Murtaugh, Mert Witness 1, and welcome to the Thursday Mobile-thon. And this is yet another day that Field McConnell is under house arrest in Stuart, Florida, awaiting trial in May because of something he did that was a direct result of being involved with Timothy Charles Homseth. Now, Timothy Charles Homseth and Randy Erickson are very two predictable people. They react consistently when they are confronted with lies that they have told. Now, yesterday, on the Wednesday Mobile-thon, I got into the false accusations that have been made against Oprah Winfrey and the outright lie that was being told, and I proved how it was a lie. How it is impossible for a house to be magically transformed from a condominium, and why it is impossible to have a cave underneath a house in Southwest Florida. Now today, miraculously, they put up video, or excuse me, not a video, but a screenshot of the house that I pointed out to them was the house that Oprah Winfrey currently owns, that she's currently in. The house has not been seized, none of it. But Randy Erickson keeps posting this crap because Randy Erickson is a supporter of Donald J. Trump and Oprah Winfrey is not. Now, Oprah Winfrey has met and has been associated with Donald J. Trump in the past. They know each other. They work with each other. They just differ politically. And so because Oprah Winfrey disagrees with Donald Trump, she's being attacked by QAnon. Now, because I pointed out this little lie and the lies that Tim Homseth has told for over a decade, Tim Homseth went out and dug up some videos that were made to smear me. And someone attempted to put one of these videos on my YouTube channel. And I caught it, and I removed it because it's false information. And it's a deliberate attempt to sabotage my channel. Because those that put up this material to begin with did so with the express purpose of shutting down my social media channel. And it was done. They succeeded. I gave up and left. I said, screw this shit. I lost my house and my business because of those people that Timothy Homseth has turned to try and get him out of the mess he's got himself in. Well, it's not going to work. Because all this stuff's been out there. Now, if you take a close look at one of the channels, you're going to notice something. And I'll point that out in a little bit. I'm going to try and do this in a little bit of order instead of jumping around. First thing on the docket today. I came into information today that Tim Homseth may not like. And just like the information that I gave out about Field McConnell and the details that eventually came out, like the fact that all his phone calls are monitored, that he can only call his wife and immediate family members, he can't be calling and talking in code, and that his attorney had to monitor the call. Somebody came out and said, oh no, that ain't true, they don't do that. Well, yes, they do. And it's in black and white, and it's in the court records, and it is on my video. Go take a look. Field McConnell cannot make any phone calls unless somebody's monitoring. Field McConnell has been ordered by the court to remove all social media accounts that either are him, sponsored for him, or where he is on directly. And that is the Field Report. Now, the childrenscrusade.org is gone. It no longer exists. By court order, the organization has vanished. You'll never hear anything about the Children's Crusade unless it is out of the mouth of Timothy Charles Homeseth and, by extension, Randy Erickson. And something else. Can't verify this right now, but I was given the information by the same reliable source that gave me the information about all the court information. There is possibly a deal in the works for Field McConnell to testify against Timothy Charles Homeseth in the investigation involving the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force. That Field McConnell may testify and allege that the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force was his idea and his alone, along with Randy Q. Erickson, that they both came up with this organization in a number of meetings prior to the announcement of this organization as a vehicle to solicit funds on behalf of the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force. That meetings took place where Field McConnell, Tim Homeseth, Randy Erickson, and others allegedly planned the whole thing. That the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force was known to be fake. It was organized in such a way that it could be made to look official, that people would believe the organization exists, so on and so forth. And all this other stuff going on with Insia Absug was dreamed up by the same group, that they all worked together. And there were others in the background on these other projects, because they were getting a big return on their investment. Now remember, Field McConnell had 44,000 subscribers. And if you look at the numbers on the views that he got on his YouTube channel alone, the numbers. Now it is said that on average, people were giving $5 a month to the Field Report and to the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force and to the Children's Crusade. $5 a month on average. Most of the times it was more than that. If you take and multiply that times the number of subscribers that are on that channel, that's a substantial amount of money. Now again, I can't verify this information. This is all rumor, just like it was with the court documents before they finally came out and confirmed everything that I said. So right now, this is allegations based on rumor from an anonymous source, actually more than one, concerning the fact that Field McConnell may be ready to turn state's evidence against Timothy Charles Homeseth. It's going to be a wait and see. Maybe this week, next week, 6 months from now. But at some point, it has been said that Field McConnell is preparing to turn state evidence. He's prepared to become a federal witness in return for immunity from prosecution in order to save his ass, and that Timothy Charles Holmsath and a number of other individuals may have at this moment sealed indictments for violations of various federal laws. So it'll be interesting to watch to see if that develops. I've been promised to be given briefings and updates on this information as time goes forward. I had actually had this information for a few days now, and I had not intended to discuss it here, but because of recent developments, I felt it was necessary to at least put that out there. So now let us turn to the smear campaign that Tim Holmsath and Randy Erickson have started up. Now, I find it curious that Tim Holmsath has not learned his lesson. He's done this before. He's done it at least 5 times, to where he puts out this very same information in order to shut me up, because he knows that 8 years ago it worked, that I just got fed up and left. But the damage has already been done, you see. I've lost my business, I've lost my house, I've lost everything. So I have nothing to lose. You know, this information can be put out there and nothing's going to happen. I may lose the subscribers to my YouTube channel, because I tell you people, I've told you before, Google my name, Google my username. This stuff is out there, it's not hidden. And if you want to believe that stuff is true, that Tim Holmes is saying about me, and that I'm all these things that I'm being accused of, and these chats are real and all this or all that, I do not blame you. Go ahead and unsubscribe. Go ahead and not view my channel. That's up to you. I'm not begging you to stay here. I'm not telling you to take what I say or do on this channel in faith that you're to believe me without any evidence at all, because I'm not going to do that. I'm not Tim Holmsath. I don't go around saying that I'm part of the high command. I'm nothing. I'm a retired truck driver that has a small YouTube channel. That's it. What I do on this channel is largely opinion, based on information that I have. If I have court documents, I put them up there. But in the end, it's just my opinion. It's my take on things. It's up to you as the audience to decide yes or no. If I'm not worth listening to, if my videos are not worth watching, by all means. Thanks for visiting. I understand if you don't come back again. Farewell. God bless you all. I hope you get through this crisis and so on. But if what you hear on this channel is worth your while, I welcome you to stay around. Now, let me explain something about all this material that's out there. We've already heard about the infamous chat that I'm accused of taking part in. And I've stated before on my videos that those chats were fabrications. They were made up. And I've shown how. As late as yesterday, I showed how. Now, Tim Holmsath has had the same information for quite a long time. Back when I was defending him, I gave him this information, so that he would understand the degree of the forces that were against him. And he ignored it. And let me show you why. Now, Tim Holmsath put up a number of videos. The infamous video with me without my shirt on. The infamous video where the one image of me sitting in my studio, live on the air, and these calls come in. Now, the calls were generated by Monoxide MMAC, otherwise known as Joshua Wayne Melton. Now, Mr. Melton's got a rather colorful history. And one of the things that Mr. Melton liked to do is make these prank phone calls. He made a lot of them. All but four or five of them have been removed by YouTube. Why they haven't removed the rest, I don't know. But when you play these videos, they're kind of funny. I mean, people think they're funny and everything, but when you play these videos, you're going to see that I'm arguing with somebody. And it's like I keep arguing with them, and they just kind of talk over me and don't respond at all to my statements. There was a Judge Judy call, which is a classic, and these other calls. I think the Judge Judy call is no longer around because they got slapped with a copyright from the company that owns Judge Judy's show. But regardless of if it exists or not, it basically is just me arguing with this woman. Well, unfortunately for me, this turned out to be what is known as a soundboard call. Now, Soundboard is a website where they would have clips that would be 10 seconds long or so of things that celebrities say that are somewhat well known by fans of that particular individual. And Judge Judy was one of those. Her voice was on there, extracted from her TV show when she held court. And basically, I was arguing with Judge Judy. I didn't know that. I thought it was some drunk woman from Brooklyn. And I received a bunch of these calls from Mr. Monoxide. And a lot of them weren't put on YouTube because in some of these calls he represented himself to be an agent of the FBI, law enforcement, all kinds of stuff. He didn't put those recordings up because he would have gone to jail. What he didn't realize is he could go to jail for putting these calls up. But Monoxide made a mistake. One of the little stunts he did was to put child pornography up on a live stream chat belonging to Leonard Padilla. Now, Leonard Padilla is a bounty hunter. He's a bondsman. He puts up bonds, much the same way as the company in Florida put up bonds for Phil McConnell. That's what Leonard Padilla does. He posts bonds for people that are awaiting trial for a criminal offense. And then if they jump bail, he'll go looking for them, or else he'll run around looking for people that are absconded for other bondsmen, bounty hunter for hire, that sort of thing. And he got heavily involved in the Casey Anthony case. He's the one that put up the bond for Casey Anthony temporarily and then took it back, and she wound up back in jail again. Well, for some reason, Monoxide decided to pick on Leonard Padilla. And he made one of these calls. And needless to say, Leonard Padilla wasn't too happy with him. But it was a prank. These things are done all the time. There was There was a slew of them at one time. Everybody was putting these calls up. But monoxide took it one step further. It is alleged, and it was eventually proven, that monoxide put a link to child pornography on Leonard Padella's chat room while he was in a live chat. This was turned over to federal authorities, and he got caught. Now, it is said that Joshua was tried, convicted, and sentenced for that particular crime and others. But Joshua Melton's gone. You can't find him anywhere. There's no pictures of Joshua Melton. Nothing. It's gone. His presence on the internet has disappeared. He had a website. The website has been taken down. He had a blog. The blog was taken down. The only thing left is this one YouTube channel that should have been taken down. A court order was out there to take it down. For some reason, it did not get taken down. And I've actually written an email to the agent who investigated the case to find out why. And I await their answer. But in the meantime, Timothy Charles Holmseth, and by extension, Randy Erickson, have linked to this channel. And another one that's out there. Because they're desperate. They're cornered. They got caught in the lies, and they got to sidetrack. They got to get people away from these lies. They say, oh my God, he hit the nail on the head. I outright lied when I said that Oprah Winfrey had been arrested, and so on and so forth. And Tim Holmseth has lied about being the press secretary for the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force. We got to get away from this. We got to discredit this retired truck driver with the obscure YouTube channel before people find out we're frauds. He's costing us money. We're losing money because people are realizing that we are lying and they're turning away. This is what's going on, folks. It's happened before. You know, all you have to do, you have to remember Tom Morrissey. Look what happened to Tom Morrissey. Look what happened to Chad Cater. Look what happened to Kirk Pendergrass. Anybody that has turned against these two suffer the consequences. And there you are. There's the proof. So, you know, and it came down to the point where Phil McConnell had to say, they don't speak for me. Remember that. There was the incident way back when in regards to the foreclosure. Phil McConnell stated quite clearly that the only people that speak for him are Denise, the person he has appointed a power of attorney, and that's it. And now his attorney in this criminal case, those are the only people that speak for Phil McConnell. Tim Holmseth is out of the picture. Tim Holmseth had to step down from the Children's Crusade. Of course, Tim knew that because Phil McConnell was in jail, the Children's Crusade was gone. Then it was only a matter of time before it was taken down, and it has been. The Children's Crusade is gone. And now, to steer people away from this information, all this stuff that's coming out, Randy Erickson and Tim Holmseth come up with a smear campaign because they have to hide this stuff. They have to divert, to gaslight, because they are in big trouble. They're in serious trouble. And they know they're in serious trouble. And they know that I have a network out there where I am able to find out information. And they probably found out the same information I have, but have not disclosed yet. Because there's a lot of things that I know that I have packed away in my computer. In a little 2 terabyte SSD drive that I carry around with me. Got a lot of information on that little thing that I transferred over from my main computer so I can carry it around. And that information says that the two of them are in some serious trouble. And they know it. And in order to keep this stuff from coming out, they came up with this little smear campaign. So, Timothy Charles Homseth turns to a known pedophile. A pedophile he's had information on for years because he was given this information, not only by me, but by others. Astro gave him the information. Radio talked about it. And something else that's really interesting. Now, Tim Homseth is supposed to be this big investigative reporter, supposed to be able to uncover facts and evidence and so forth. But there's a number of things that Tim Homseth missed. Now, if you remember, Tim Homseth has claimed to have gotten calls from Donald Trump, from Anonymous, all kinds of threatening and fake calls. There's been videos put up by Anonymous that says if Tim Homseth doesn't remove his material, that things are going to happen and so on and so forth. Tim has talked about all this. Well, guess who created all these calls? Monoxide, in the group that he was working with. See, Tim Homseth does not process subtle information, does not process nuances. And in a lot of cases, if the evidence is really thrown right in his face, he ignores it because it goes against his narrative. But there it is, right there for all to see. Tim Homseth has put it up. Fake phone calls. That's modus operandi right there. Pattern of behavior. Guy makes prank calls. He makes impersonations. Makes these cartoons. I mean, how obvious is it? The clues are right there, right in front of him. On his own server. He can compare things between the prank calls he got and the prank calls that I got and realize that they're probably from the same source. And yet he just conveniently brushes all this aside because it's against me. You see, this is the thing. Somebody does something against him. He's all over me. He said, oh, they're trying to kidnap me. They're trying to silence me. They're trying to kill me. They're trying to put drugs in my car and cutting my brakes and all this. But when it's done against me, it's, oh, look at what Bill did. Look at all these chats Bill have made. Look at this. Look at that. That's Tim. See, Tim doesn't stop and think that possibly the same people that are attacking him are attacking me. He's had proof of this for years. Radio's the biggest clue. Because Radio was behind. She was the organizer, the puppet master. I've written about the puppet master. She organized. She went out and found all these people. The bloggers, the YouTubers, the illustrators. She had a well-organized campaign against both me and Timothy Homseth. And Monoxide was in on this. There was a grocery produce manager from the west side of Florida that got involved to some extent until he realized the mess he was getting into and backed out of it. And other people. And they've documented their mistakes in at least 3 different blogs, specifically discussing Monoxide. But Tim Homseth ignores all these clues. And then he wonders where all the fake material's coming from that's against him. All these phone calls he gets from Donald J. Trump and Mar-a-Lago and all that. All he has to do is look at the very same videos he's using against me and study the methodology, and he'd have his answers. And you know what else is funny? Timothy Charles Holmseth, for the past 7 years, it's either 7 years, right around that amount of time, has had in his grasp a rather obscure clue that could have solved at least 2 missing child cases in the state of Florida. Possibly 3. But at least 2. And for certain 1, more than likely. And again, this has to do with Joshua Wayne Melton. You know, I'm going to put my conspiracy theory hat on here, because this is only speculation, a hypothetical. Now, the mother of Trenton Duckett was rather young. She was adopted, brought over from South Korea, somehow wound up in the state of Florida, got married, actually got pregnant, then got married, then got divorced, and had Trenton, only child. And Linda Duckett was a party girl. She went to various places that people their age went to in those times. But, you know, she had this problem. She had this kid. And she didn't have a family structure. Her parents were in New York State. You know, who the hell was the guardian of this person in Florida? It's not really known, other than perhaps her very old grandparents that lived in the villages near Lady Lake, Florida. But she went about. She managed to party. I mean, she was seen at parties. Very much like, coincidentally, Casey Anthony. Casey Anthony was a party girl. She was all over the place. Got pictures of Casey Anthony knocked down drunk, thrown up in the toilet, all kinds of things about Casey Anthony. I mean, she was a real gem. And the same thing is true, interestingly enough, of party girl, drug addict, distributed drugs. I mean, these are the kind of people that were around these kids. Real pieces of work. And in at least 2 instances, there's a connection. And that connection is Joshua Wayne Melton. And there's a very, very big clue that I actually gave Timothy Holmseth way back a long time ago. It's a street address. Now, here's a guy, if you study the history of Joshua Wayne Melton and what he was accused of doing throughout the years, joking around about raping women, actually wrote a story about having sex with his mother, you know, incest, and making threats against a 14-year-old girl. This was Joshua Wayne Melton. Joshua Wayne Melton lived 10 miles away from Melinda Duckett during the time that Trenton Duckett disappeared. He claims to have known Melinda Duckett. Went to the same high school as Melinda Duckett. He lived almost within spitting distance of the grandparents' house where Melinda Duckett committed suicide, or is thought to have committed suicide. That this 5'3" girl took a 16-gauge shotgun, hid in a closet, sat down, put the gun in her mouth, and with her toe committed suicide. Now think about that. Committing suicide with a firearm is probably the most difficult thing to do. And using a shotgun is even more difficult. The fact that this short girl took a full-size shotgun, sat down in a closet, went through all the logistics and everything that one has to do to position this gun, put it in your mouth, and pull the trigger, and blow your brains out. This is what law enforcement concluded happened to Melinda Duckett. They didn't investigate the possibility that someone may have set her up. That perhaps there should have been a tox scan done to determine if she'd been drugged or otherwise incapacitated to the point where this may not have been a suicide. But, needless to say, case closed. She committed suicide. The case of Trent Duckett remains open because they can't convict a dead person. Because Melinda Duckett is the one that is accused of doing something with Trenton Duckett. His body has never been found. There's no trace of him. Nobody has any idea what happened to him. The last time anybody saw him was in that apartment. Now, not long, almost 2 years later, if that, Caylee Anthony disappears. Now, her body was eventually found. But we have, again, Casey Anthony, very young mother of this young girl, party girl, and it was said that she was complaining about Caylee crimping her lifestyle. Well, the name Joshua Wayne Melton comes up again. Because Joshua Wayne Melton, on the now closed website that he had, bragged that he knew Casey Anthony. That he'd been to parties with Casey Anthony. Now, for some strange reason, law enforcement didn't look into this. They pretty well had everything figured out. That Casey Anthony had done something to Caylee and that she was presumed dead. And so they quit looking at suspects. They quit looking at the boyfriend, other people that she was directly involved with. They just totally wiped that off the map. The meter reader, the lady, I can't remember the term now, but the lady she falsely accused of taking Caylee off to Puerto Rico. And even George was accused, the grandfather, of murdering his granddaughter. It's the kind of world that we had going on down here in Orlando. And right in the middle of all this was Joshua Wayne Melton, the author of the material that Tim Holmseth has put up on his Facebook page. The material that Randy Erickson has put on their Facebook page. And there's the clue. the fact that Joshua Wayne Melton lived in Florida during this time. And another interesting fact that has escaped everyone. Now, the drive from Leesburg or Lady Lake, Florida to Palatka, Florida is about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. Could be even less, because Joshua Melton was known to be something of a leadfoot. He liked to drive fast. And there's a couple of highways that go over to Putnam County where the roads are not patrolled all that well, and you can go at a pretty good clip on them. I have personal experience in that area. But Joshua Melton could have gotten up to Palatka, Florida in pretty short order. Joshua Melton is alleged to have abused drugs. You know, he came from a small town of Hazard, Kentucky. And just like Palatka, there's not much to do up there. Get around, sit around, get high, and then get on the internet and talk about mixed martial arts, which is what the MMAC stood for, or create a little mischief on true crime forums. Now, here you have a late 30 something. Joshua Melton was born in 1987. And all the incidences between Trenton Duckett and Haley Cummings took place between 2006 and 2009. A little over 2 years. Because we were very early into 2009. We hadn't hit the third year yet. And then another strange coincidence here with these two cases. Yeah, I discussed this once a long time ago. All these weird coincidences that took place with these three cases. Trenton Duckett disappeared in August of 2006. Caylee Anthony disappeared in August of 2008. Now, the disappearance of Haley Cummings happened in February of 2009. Three children dead with guardians in the same age bracket. Late 20s, early 30s, and even a teenager thrown in for good measure. All these people were involved in some kind of substance abuse. Every single one of them. Kind of interesting set of circumstances when you stop and think about it. And Tim Holmseth ignored all these clues. Why is that? Any other true crime armchair detective would have been all over this. Here's this guy who knew all three of these people, or at least two of them. Wouldn't be a stretch for him to know Ron Cummings or Crystal Sheffield, because he's the same, he's that kind of person. He was eventually accused of drug. You look up Josh Melton, you're going to see his criminal history. Because he either went by Joshua Melton or he went by Wayne Melton. He interchanged the two first names, so if you do searches based on those two names, you'll find them. At least some trace of them. Some of the stuff has disappeared, which over the last couple of years, which surprises me. I didn't know mugshots of stuff were removed off the internet, but there's a couple of places I can't find them that he used to be there. Because it's like I said, Joshua Melton has disappeared from the internet. You can't find him anywhere. Last I knew, he was in Tennessee. I was told he showed up in Pensacola. But since the Pensacola lead, he's disappeared, vanished, without a trace. That's rather curious. Because there's a few people involved in some of these shenanigans on the internet that have vanished. Lisa from Arizona has vanished. She used to be one of my administrators. You can't even find a record of her. Everything about Lisa is disappeared. She used to go by Mommy's Dollies or something like that. But she's vanished without a trace. You know, people involved in the Casey Anthony case have a habit of disappearing. And the same is true of the Trenton Duckett case. People are disappearing. They vanish. And it's true in the Haley Cummings case. These people disappear. Kind of weird. But, you know, there could be a logical explanation for it. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to do what Tim Holmes said, but I just find it kind of interesting that all kinds of people vanished. Even radio's gone. Of course, I know the reason radio's gone, but she's gone. But Tim Holmes is still here. But Tim Holmseth won't touch any of these clues. Won't go near them. The opportunity to possibly solve 2 out of 3 of the unsolved cases, actually 3, since Casey Anthony was acquitted of the murder of her child, it's an open case, even though it's law enforcement basically has said, the hell with it, we know who did it. They're not investigating it anymore. But technically, the Caylee Anthony case is an open case. There's a possibility that since Casey Anthony was adjudicated not guilty, that somebody else did it. That perhaps someone should track down the mysterious Joshua Wayne Melton and ask him a few questions. Ask him a few questions about Caylee Anthony. Ask him a few questions about Trenton Duckett. Ask him a few questions about Haley Cummings. Here's a golden opportunity for Timothy Charles Holmseth, investigative true crime reporter, who wrote a book about the Casey Anthony case. Yeah, he wrote a book about that case too. And about Haley Cummings. With all these connections, and with the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force at his beck and call, he could solve these cases today by tracking down and talking to Joshua Wayne Melton and ask him a few questions. Ask Joshua Wayne Melton, where were you between the hours of 6 and 10 p.m. on August 6, 26, 2006? Where were you on Father's Day, 2009? And where were you on that cold February day in 2009? Make a correction, it should have been Father's Day of 2008, not 2009. But on 2009, in early February, where were you, Joshua? And why is it that in March of 2009, Joshua Wayne Melton left the state of Florida? That last question is something that Joshua Wayne Melton might want to answer if he's within earshot of this webcast. Why did you leave Florida right after the disappearance of Haley Cummings? You didn't leave after Trenton Duckett. You didn't leave after Caylee Anthony, but you left after Haley Cummings. Why is that? And why is it that you attacked me, Mr. Melton, from day one? Why is it that when you were a member of Web Sleuth that you attacked me? And why is it, Mr. Melton, that you never attacked the woman who turned out to be an unregistered pedophile that was shown to be an unregistered pedophile in Leesburg, of all places, not very far from where you used to live? And guess what, Mr. Melton? The mobile home that the incident with the children took place was not very far from where you were living at the time, because you were living in Florida during that incident. You were visiting. So what were you doing on the day the unregistered sex offender was having her sex organs photographed by an unknown person in the background, watching all this? And the child taking pictures as well. See, there's an awful lot of really strange coincidences when it comes to Mr. Joshua Wayne Melton, that as an investigative reporter, like Timothy Charles Holmseth claims to be, should have seen. But he ignored all this because it doesn't suit his narrative. Because the truth would not match up to his narrative. It would not be this vast ring of child traffickers and pedophiles and so on and so forth. But instead might hinge on a certain Joshua Wayne Melton being at the right place at the right time, for reasons unknown. That Joshua Wayne Melton has a connection to all these people. He has a connection to the unregistered sex offender because he used to be in the same form that she was in. He knew the woman. And as I stated, he claims to have known Melinda Duckett, the mother of still missing Trenton Duckett. And he is alleged to have a connection to Casey Anthony, the mother of Caylee Anthony, who was acquitted of having anything to do with the death of her daughter. And technically, the crime remains unsolved, because the jury could not come up with a connection or cause of death between Casey Anthony and the death of her daughter. And we have this Joshua Wayne Melton, who bragged that he knew all of these people. Melinda Duckett, Casey Anthony, possibly Ron Cummings and his live-in girlfriend. This is a rather extraordinary set of circumstances, don't you think, folks? I mean, Joshua Wayne Melton is the same age of all the guardians of all these children. Right around the same age. Born in 1987. That would make him in his 20s when Trenton Duckett disappeared, and in his 20s when all three of these kids disappeared. And then Joshua Wayne Melton leaves the state of Florida, and all these cases stop. We don't have children being separated by their mothers anymore in the state of Florida, in Central Florida, the way that it happened with Crystal Sheffield, Casey Anthony, and Melinda Duckett. None of these people. We haven't had a case like that since. Oh, we have the usual child gets kidnapped. They find her in the woods, find out it was some guy that was a boyfriend of a mother or something like that. It's usually somebody older. But not somebody that knows all these single mothers that's in his 20s and has this rather weird background on the internet. That's the kind of true crime detective that Timothy Holmseth is. His opportunity to solve this case is gone. It's gone because Joshua Wayne Melton has disappeared. Nobody knows where he's at. I've been trying to find this guy for years because I'd like to ask him a few questions, but I can't find him. He's gone. No trace of him anywhere. The pictures that were taken of Josh Melton and put on one blog have disappeared. The website that had his pictures have removed them. I think there's one mugshot of Mr. Melton out there. That's kind of interesting. It's something to think about. Here's a guy who lived in Florida when all three of these missing child cases happened, has this wild history on the internet, has made prank calls to both me and Timothy Charles Holmseth, and he disappears right after Haley Cummings disappears. Then in March of the same year that Haley Cummings disappeared, Joshua Wayne Melton leaves the state of Florida. I believe briefly he went back to Hazard, Kentucky and stayed with his mother. But then, eventually, he was gone. All those videos he made of me stopped in 2011. All the phone calls that have been made to Timothy Charles Holmseth stopped a couple years after they started up. Now, he may get a call every once in a while today, but it's not very often, and we don't know who's making those calls. Because somebody may have just copied Joshua's methodology. But I'll tell you something. What Joshua Wayne Melton was doing and how he did it was rather unique. Nobody else was doing that sort of thing. Yeah, people were making these calls, these soundboard calls. But some of the stuff that Joshua Wayne Melton did on the internet, nobody was doing until 3 or 4 years ago. He was like a pioneer because it was the activities of these kind of people were very limited. Anonymous was doing things, but it was within a small group on 4chan. I remember, I've talked about 4chan before. That's where the chats came from. Renzo Loves Cake, KFC Fan, and Monoxide MMAC were on 4chan. Another coincidence that here we have Joshua Wayne Melton on 4chan. Just like Monoxide, or like KFC Fan, and Renzo Loves Cake. The two people that authored, allegedly, the fake chat. And we have Web Sleuth as a connection. Joshua Wayne Melton was on Web Sleuth for a time. knew some rather interesting people on Wapsalos, and they know who they are. There's people that I currently associate now that knew monoxide. So, really something interesting for everybody to consider here. Perhaps some of you armchair detectives out there might want to start hunting around for Mr. Joshua Wayne Melton of Hazard, Kentucky, the former Monoxide MMAC. Start looking into this dude. I sure would like to know about him. I have a few questions for Mr. Melton. And I know a couple of law enforcement officers that have some questions for Mr. Melton. So, I'm at the end of my little drive here. Time for me to go into the wild blue yonder, as they say. So until the next time, this is William K. Murtaugh, Mert Witness 1. Have a good one.